I'm Joyce C. Brown. C stands for Chambers. It's an old Grand Lake name, and I've lived here all my life, and I'm 90 years old. And there's no better place than Grand Lake Street. I was educated in the schools here in town, one-room schoolhouses. It was one big building, but the rooms were divided up. And then I went over to Lee Academy and graduated in 1949. And my parents didn't have a car, there was no transportation, so I lived over there in the girls' dormitory. Yep, I'm proud of being able to graduate high school and right in the area, so to speak. Yeah.
Did you have siblings?
I had two brothers, younger than I am, and they're both gone. My brother Barry, the youngest one, enlisted in the Army and went through boot camp in Missouri, and then he was sent over to Korea, and he was up in the hills working a bulldozer, and it started to flip back, and he went to jump off it, and a piece of his clothing caught in the lag of the tractor, and it killed him. He was only 23. And my other brother, Frank, he went to school in Princeton, and then he married a girl from Woodland, so he went to work in the mill, and he bought a home in Woodland, which is now Baileyville. So that's it for my family. Yeah, my mom and dad, of course, were both from Grand Lake Stream, and Dad was an outdoorsman. He guided in the summer months, and he trapped or did woodwork in the winter. So he was really an outdoor person, more so than my mom, but my mom loved fish. She would go up there in the winter, snow, sleet, rain, whatever, and sit there with that ice hole that was made by the old-fashioned way, chisel. And she caught that toad that's in there on the wall in the living room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a keeper, for sure.
Yeah, she was real proud of that. And she had a friend up there fishing with her, and she hollered, she said, "Kay, you've got to come and help me. I can't pull on this." At that time, she didn't realize it was a fish. She didn't know what she had hooked onto, but when they saw it, I guess the girl that was with her just grabbed it to pull it out on the ice. Anyway, she wanted it mounted, and I don't blame her, because it is a beauty. Yeah. Yeah, coming out of Grand Lake.
So did she pass the fishing tradition on to you? Did you fish growing up?
Would you believe that I don't like to fish? I love the outdoors and the water and the stream and the lakes, and I love picnic and outdoor fires and everything that goes along with it, but I don't care to fish. And to this day, I'm not lovable on eating the fish. And I thought to myself, maybe it was because I ate so many growing up. It's like venison. I can eat it, but it isn't something that I would go out and wish for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what else did you do as a child for fun?
For fun, my husband was a musician, and we got invited to a lot of, we called them hootenannies back nowadays, around to the camps and different places, and we had a lot of fun, met a lot of nice people, and yeah, and so I worked 29 years over at Lean's Lodge, and I started in as a part-time cabin girl because that time my son Calvin was young and I didn't have anyone to babysit. So Anna Cataldo, the gal that lived up the street next to the ball field, she came down one day and she said, I got an idea, she said. What if I take care of Calvin and you work 2 or 3 days, and then you take care of Louie, little Louie, and I'll work 3. So we sort of shared the job, and it was part-time cabin girl. Yeah, and then I went from there into the dining room, and I was a waitress for 19 years, and met a lot of people. Yeah, a lot, yeah.
From all over the world, probably.
Yes, yes, yeah. Of course, one special one was Ted Williams when he come. We all enjoyed him. But no, a lot of local sports writers used to come, but Kurt Gowdy and Bud Levitt and Tom Hennessy and all those names out of Bangor, yeah, used to come and stay at the lodge. So other than that, then I married, 1950, and I married my friend, classmate, and we rented different houses here in the town. And then we finally decided that we wanted to buy our own place and have something. So the opportunity comes for this house here, so we up and bought it, and we took advantage of Walter's GI Bill, and that's how we bought our house. And at the time, we paid $34.21 monthly. And the price they were asking was $4,000. I can't imagine it. Nowadays, it would be up in the 6 figures.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the stream right back of me will have a lot to do with selling the place when I'm gone. But I've really enjoyed living here, because I know everybody, and I know everybody's kids and grandkids, and right through the years, yeah, being brought up here in town. Yeah. So anyway, so now I've lost my family and I live here alone. And I can't say as I love it, because I don't. I miss people and I miss my family. And my great grandchildren live in North Carolina, so I don't see them that often, but they get up, they fly into Bangor, and they get a car from somebody that's willing to loan them, and then they go around, so I get to see them, or else I go to Bangor and meet up with them and spend some time with them. Yeah. But I've done a lot of traveling. I've been to Germany, Switzerland. I've been to Hawaii twice. I've been to Arizona and been to Florida and where else? Anyway, I've done a lot of trips. Been to Fort Lauderdale, flew into Fort Lauderdale and took a cruise ship to the Bahamas. That was fun. Yeah, so I've done my share of traveling. I wouldn't want to do it alone no more. My friend Ruth Williams, been my friend all the years. She's now at Washington Place in Calais, so we haven't done any traveling for the last 3 years, but she and I did most of our traveling together. She had a son who lives in Florida, and she has one who lives in Georgia. Yeah. So we've been down there several times to visit and stay with the kids. Yeah, so her kids mean as much to me as my own, really, because I saw them, growing up. Yep. Oh,
But you've always stayed here. Something kept you here in Grand Lake Stream.
the beauty and the quietness and the stream and just everything, the people. I just was contented. This is my home.
Wonderful. Do you have any stories you could share about growing up in this town?
Well, there's been a lot of changes. Growing up in the winter, we had a sled, and it was they call it two-runner, I guess is what they call it nowadays. And we'd go up to the church and come down over that hill, cross Milford Road, and go down Back Street. And then we'd walk a short distance and we'd slide down Back Street, walk across the main road to the church, and we did that all evening. Or skating, we'd wait till the lake froze over, and our parents would loan us a broom from out of the kitchen, and gang of us would get together and we'd go up and sweep off the ice up in the cove. But we were warned before we left the house, don't you go out any further than that cove, because it won't be safe on account of the gates being open in the dam with the current. And we used to gather up old tires off in vehicles, and we'd burn one of them up there and have a nice fire. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. Way back when I was smaller, we'd find a snowbank or a steep hill somewhere, and we'd slide in a pie plate, kitchen pie plate. Or if we didn't have a pie plate, we had a piece of cardboard box. Yeah.
And your husband?
My husband was born and brought up in Grand Lake Stream also. He lived up in the first house you come to on Canal Street, I call it. I don't know if it's still called that or not. I think it is. Anyway, that's where he was born and brought up. And his father was killed when he was very young. So he had to quit school and go out and earn a living for he and his mother. The other brothers and sisters, he came from a family of 13 children, and the other ones were gone or had left town or didn't have the opportunity of taking care of his mother, so I ended up doing that for a while. We lived with her and looked after the house. But no, he was a Maine guide, and he said one time, I've guided 100 days this summer. I think that's a pretty good record. Yeah.
That's a full schedule.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, but he was a musician. He loved to sing and play, and as I said, we got invited to a lot of parties and cookouts and wedding receptions and whatever. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So anyway, he drove the school bus for 13 years. And he quit the school bus and got a job up at the hatchery, the fish hatchery, as a conservation aide, and worked a few summers and guided in between. And then the next thing he said, I think I'll stay right up there to the hatchery and work. I don't think I'll get done. He says, because fish can't talk back. Cook went through his boot training in Fort Jackson, Missouri, and I think it's Missouri. I could be wrong. And that's where he was when our son Calvin was born. He was down in South Carolina. After boot camp, he come home for a few days and went back, and they shipped him right over to Korea. Yeah. Yeah. And he got out, and like it said, we rented a few places here in town, and then decided to buy this place. So. Yeah, I've had a good life. Well, I'll tell you a little story that we got a big laugh out of. Back years ago, some of the guides would caretake the camps around on the shore of the lake. So Ralph Williams and Ruth, that were friends of ours, was looking after the Cape Cole camp up in Farm Cove Gut on Grand Lake. And so we had snow, and he decided he'd better go out and check the roofs to see if they needed to be shoveled off. Back then it was snowshoe, or somebody was lucky enough to have a snow sled, they'd pull a toboggan. And so we got up there, and the little cabin was up on the hill. And we had a wood fire in the living room, and we had a little fire in the cook stove in the kitchen. So that's where my husband and I slept, was in the kitchen. Ruth and Ralph had the one in the living room. Well, cold, oh, it was so cold. And we kept that fire going all night in that little cook stove to keep warm. Well, when we got up the next morning, my snowmobile boots was froze right to the floor. It was cold. Yep.
That's deep cold.
Yep. We got a big laugh out of that one. It froze right to the floor.